We are back with the weekly Premier League predictions. This time we're going over the Game Week 4 matches in more depth. As usual, the biggest games this week are Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest and Man City versus Man United. So the Manchester Derby is happening this week. I mean, that's going to be a great game most likely. I mean, you know what's going to happen there. Anyway, let's get straight into the video. Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. First off, this game should be a pretty good one. So let's get started with Arsenal. They have been alright this season. Performance wise, it's not been the best. If we're looking at the overall play, not too good. But sure, we won 5-0 against Leeds, which was pretty good, but they weren't too good defensively. Our last game against Liverpool was a rough one to watch. Arteta started a very defensive lineup, not even trying to go for the win, just going for a draw, honestly. And Martinelli was horrible in that match as well, as he came on and he looked a lot better with more energy, more positivity going forward. But yeah, hopefully we're better in this game. On to Nottingham Forest. They have started the season not too well defensively. They do not seem too strong. Last game they played West Ham and that was a rough game because Forest ended up losing that game 3-0, which is absolutely wild. West Ham were moving through them with absolute ease, and honestly we saw Nuno Espirito Santo get sacked today. I'm recording this on a Monday. Who will they bring in? I don't know. Ange Postecoglou is a potential candidate for the job, but let's see. But Nuno Espirito Santo, he had a little bit of a fallout with the ownership, so hence the sack. My prediction is gonna be a 3-1 win for Arsenal. Moving on to Bournemouth versus Brighton. This game should be a very good one. So let's get started with Bournemouth. They have started the season quite well. Currently, they're sitting in 7th place in the Premier League. Like last game they played Tottenham. I had a feeling that was going to be a rough game for Tottenham, but Bournemouth are absolutely dominating them for the majority of the game, and I believe Semenyo was one of the best players, one of the key players in that team in that match. And on to Brighton, they have had quite a decent start to the season. They've been playing some pretty decent football. Currently they're sitting in 11th place in the Premier League. So last game they had a match against Man City and Brighton played quite well and they won that game 2-1. Very surprising win. That 89th minute goal from Gruda was absolutely incredible. Now I could see Brighton doing well this season. They could get European football once again. Now my prediction is going to be a 1-1 draw between the two. Moving on to Newcastle versus Wolves. This game could be a pretty decent one. So let's get started with Newcastle. Has been a little bit of a rough start for them getting into the final third, but they are missing Isak with his finishing. Last game they played, it was a 0-0 draw against Leeds, which wasn't the best. They had a close game against Liverpool as well, losing 3-2. Now they have signed Woltmade, who has been balling out in Germany at Stuttgart, so I'm sure he's gonna absolutely ball out in the Premier League. Might take him some time as well, just like it did with Isak, but I'm sure he will bang goals. I mean, that's what he's there to do. On to Wolves. They have had a horrible start to the season, currently sitting in 20th place, which is not good, losing their first 3 matches of the season as well. Last game was a tough one. They lost 3-2 to Everton. Now they played pretty decent, just they could not take their chances, and they did not have Strand Larsen playing, which is a huge miss because honestly it's probably their main striker right now since Cunha left, probably due to the links of him going to the opposition Newcastle. But Newcastle got their striker in, so it looks like he's staying. Now my prediction is going to be a 2-0 win for Newcastle. Moving on to Everton versus Aston Villa. This should be a fairly interesting game, so let's get started with Everton. They have been doing quite well this season. Currently they are in 5th place in the league, which is very impressive. I would say last game they played Wolves and they won 3-2. Grealish at it once again, getting 2 assists. Lovely to see. He just needed more freedom to roam around the pitch and create chances like he did at Aston Villa. Now at City, He looked like he was genuinely a robot, just running at players, turning back, passing it back, resetting constantly. I'm sure at Everton this is what and how he wants to play. Now on to Aston Villa. They have been horrible so far this season, currently sitting in 19th place. I was not expecting it to be this bad at the start of the season. Last game they were horrible for them, losing 3-0 versus Crystal Palace. They had chances, they just could not score for their lives. Unai Emery, he needs to step up in terms of tactics, choosing his team. He needs to change something up because it's not working. Emi Martinez is staying at Aston Villa as well, which is huge for them. They got a keeper, even though they brought in Bizot. They probably thought Emi Martinez was gonna leave to Manchester United, but he didn't go. So my prediction for this game is gonna be a 2-1 win or Everton. Moving on to Crystal Palace versus Sunderland. This game's gonna be super good, I feel like. So let's get started with Crystal Palace. They have started this season quite well. They're currently sitting in 8th place in the Premier League. Like last game they played Aston Villa and they smoked them. Crystal Palace won that game 3-0, as I mentioned before. That was very surprising. Mateta has been balling out for the club and banging goals. Guehi so close to joining Liverpool, but Palace did not let it happen, as Glasner said he will leave the club if Guehi was to go to Liverpool, so they had to hold that off a little bit. Now on to Sunderland. They are doing pretty decent so far for a newly promoted team. They're sitting in 6th place, newly promoted side as well. Last game they played Brentford and they won 2-1. Wilson Isidore scoring the last minute winner in the 96th minute. Unbelievable. They're getting some very good results as well. This game is going to be a huge test for them because Crystal Palace recently and at the end of last season, they have been very good. But my prediction for this match is going to be a 3-1 win for Crystal Palace. Moving on to Fulham versus Leeds. Now this game should be quite a decent one, so let's get started with Fulham. They've always been a underrated team. Their season has not started too well. Like last game they played Chelsea and they lost 2-0, and they're actually sitting in 18th place at the moment. Apparently the goal decisions were quite controversial in that Chelsea game. Now I'm sure in this Fulham game they will come out and be ready for Leeds, so honestly I could see a win happening here. Now moving on to Leeds, they have started the season alright, sitting in 12th place in the league, which is pretty decent. Now last game they played Newcastle and they drew 0-0, which is a pretty good result, I would say. Now Leeds did give Newcastle quite a game. They had a few shots but only managed to get one on target, so they're always a very solid team attacking wise. Defensively, that's probably the side they need to work on more. Now my prediction for this game is going to be a 1-1 draw between the two. Moving on to West Ham versus Tottenham. Now this could be quite a good game, so let's get started with West Ham. They have started the season not too well, although their recent form, it's actually been a lot better. Like they won 3-0 in their last game against Nottingham Forest. That's a pretty huge win. Very surprising win from them as well. Bowen and Wilson were absolutely cooking. Bowen literally ran through 3 or 4 players and he was about to shoot, but Wilson touched the ball before him and took it away. And yeah, Bowen could have had an unbelievable goal, possibly the goal of the season so far, but Wilson robbed them of it. Now Forest looks so open defensively. That West Ham team were breaking through constantly. Somerville, what a player. He completely changed the game. He came on at 0-0 in the 80th minute and he made a instant impact. Now on to Tottenham. They've been decent this season, currently sitting in 4th place in the league, which is pretty decent so far. Like last game they played Bournemouth and they lost 1-0. They did fully outplay them, for being honest. Like before that they beat Man City 2-0, which is a huge win, but sadly I gotta admit they have been playing some pretty nice football, as I'm a Arsenal fan, so we don't like seeing our rivals doing well, but fair play. Now my prediction is going to be a 2-1 win for Tottenham. Moving on to Brentford versus Chelsea. This should be a alright game, so let's get started with Brentford. They have been doing not too bad, although they are sitting in 15th place. Like last game, they did play Sunderland and they lost 2-1. That is a rough loss to take against a newly promoted side especially, but they have lost a lot of players. They've lost their manager, Wissa, Mbeumo, Noorgaard, their captain, all very key players who are very important to that team. Now, I'm sure they will figure it out. Eventually, they have Uitara, who started very well, scoring quite a few goals almost in every match. Now, moving on to Chelsea, they've been pretty good this season, currently sitting in 2nd place. They actually remain unbeaten in the Premier League so far. And last game they did play Fulham and they won 2-0. And as I said before, there were controversial goals and decisions as well. Fulham did get robbed of a goal, for being honest. Now Estavio looks super promising for the future as well. What a unbelievable talent. We're definitely going to keep an eye on that guy for sure. Now my prediction going to be a 3-1 win for Chelsea. Moving on to Burnley versus Liverpool. This game surely goes only one way in my opinion, so let's get started with Burnley. They have not been too bad so far this season, currently sitting in 14th place in the Premier League. Now last game they played Manchester United and it was a tight one. They lost that game in 3-2. It was a great game. Bruno got a pen in the 97th minute to win it for Manchester United. Jadon Anthony looked like a proper player for Burnley as well, especially coming off the left side. He looked very dangerous. Larson was whipping in some very nice crosses as well. Now on to Liverpool. They've been doing well this season so far. They sit top of the league performance-wise as well, not too convincing. Like last game they played Arsenal and they won 1-0, but Szoboszlai scoring a unbelievable free kick. We knew he had that in the locker from multiple clips of him scoring for his country. And Liverpool definitely the more attacking side. Arsenal what can I say? They set up more defensive. I do not understand why we did not try and push for the win. Maybe Arteta was scared of us conceding even more, but that was our first loss in like against a top 6 side in like what, 800 days or something. Yeah, scrap that record. Go on to the next game for Arsenal. Anyway, we're talking about Liverpool right now. They have now signed Isak for £135 million. I believe unbelievable. You add him into that team and honestly, it's GG's. Just give them the league at that point. Like, I surrender at this point. But if Arsenal could challenge them a little bit, push them a little bit, then yeah, this title race is going to be crazy. Now my prediction is going to be a 3-0 win for Liverpool. Now the last and final game is Man City versus Manchester United. Now the Manchester derby is going to be quite good. So let's get started with Man City first off. They have started the season not the best, especially for their standards that they have. It's not been good. They're sitting in 14th place, which is actually quite crazy though. Like last game they played Brighton as I mentioned and they lost 2-1. That's not exactly the result they wanted to get, but it was a fairly even game if we're being honest. City just could not take their chances. They had so many chances, just could not take them. Marmoush was on his game definitely, but he did not score unfortunately. He was a key creator in that team as well. Just nothing really could get going in front of the net apart from Haaland scoring. I'm sure they will bounce back in that game as well. I gotta mention Oscar Bob. What a player on that right wing position. I believe he's 21 or 22. That's a player to look out for this season. I'm sure he's gonna explode if he continues to play like week in and week out. Now on to Manchester United. They've been doing alright. Currently they're sitting in 9th place. Like last game they played Burnley. 1-3-2 was quite the tight game and they came out with a win. As I mentioned before, Bruno scored a penalty to win it in the 97th minute and Mbeumo finally got his first goal, cutting inside, his signature move, literally cutting inside and just curling it, banging it into the net. And Cunha looks amazing on the pitch nearly every single game. Just the way he carries the ball is incredible. No goals or assists from him just yet, but I'm sure it'll start taking soon enough. Now, Amorim has got to start starting Sesko very soon because he's a fan of Mount, so it's going to be kind of hard to fit Sesko into there because they literally play Mount and Buemo as the 2 10s, and then you have Cunha up top playing like a false 9 or something. I don't know how you're gonna fit Sesko in that team, but I'm sure he will find a way. If Sesko continues to ride the bench, then yikes. Hopefully we do see him play. My prediction is gonna be a 3-2 win for Man City. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Don't forget to drop a like, comment down below all your predictions for these games, and don't forget to subscribe as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.